Also, just so everyone knows, we are going to be recording this. There's been some faculty and some other people that have requested to see this. So, you know, if you don't want to be seen or heard, you can mute yourself. All right. Well, welcome. This seems very strange and weird, but I think it's still important to kind of talk about this, and I'm really interested to hear from all of you that have decided to come today, thank you, about your own Zoom experiences. So I've kind of made the title of this, Making Your Zoom Class Great, or the subtitle has been How to Make a Frustrating Technology Work for You. So I'm hopefully going to show you some new tricks and maybe some things to think about for hosting your class on Zoom. So I always think it's important when I do these workshops to kind of give you my diversity statement, just so you know I'm going to be asking for your feedback, and I think it's really important just to kind of talk about it. So my diversity statement is I value the opinions and perspectives of individuals from all diverse backgrounds. My goal is that all your needs are addressed in this workshop and all perspectives are valued. I broadly define diversity to include race, gender, national origin, ethnicity, religion, social class, age, sexual orientation, and physical and learning ability. I strive to make this workshop an inclusive space for all minority student groups. I value your input to improve the climate of my workshop. So, you know, I'm going to be giving you some of my hot tips, but I really want to hear from all of y'all about how the Zoom stuff is going. Okay, so what are we going to be talking about today? So I want to kind of reach out and hear about how everyone's Zoom experience is going. We're going to be talking about setting up your Zoom space / dressing for success. I also want to talk about the hellish nightmare that is Zoom settings. I'm going to give you some tips about potentially using some other cameras or technology within Zoom. A couple things to augment your Zoom experience. And then at the end, I just want us to share any best practices. Because like I said, I'm just going to show you some of mine that I found in my research and my tooling around in Zoom, but I definitely want to hear from all y'all. Okay, so in the spirit of checking in and seeing how everything is going, I'm going to do a poll everywhere. So the link here is pollev.com/grandclass364. I can't make it more custom than that without paying. So if you just go to that, that link there, and I just want to hear from you about what you think makes a great Zoom experience. Try and put that. Oh no, that's my own. Put that in the chat. Thank you, Courtney. Perfect. And there's a setting in this poll everywhere that you can also upvote things that you think are great. So strong participation from as many as possible. Yes. Yes, a sense of community, safety, camaraderie. Awesome. Creating a way to connect, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, ease, openness, students to talk to each other, active participation, and a strong internet connection, yes, especially from the host. Diversity in voices, excellent. Clear visuals, openness to various situations and home context. Good. Variety. Balance of breakout rooms. Good. I mean, I think so far everyone's kind of talked about participation and how to get everyone more involved rather than this being like a a lecture on through video chat. So okay, so that's the positive. Thank you so much for your contributions. These are all really great, and it's good to hear what other people really value in a Zoom experience. Okay. So what I want to do is, if you go back to that same link, I just want to hear, oh, let's see, did I not activate it? Yes. What makes a bad Zoom experience, right? And I know last time someone put in internet connection, frozen screens, yeah. The hot tip, and I'm just gonna say from that, is in our house we have an old house that has plaster walls, so we moved around our internet routers to try and get like the best connection, because me and my partner both work on this side of the house, so we moved everything over here. Sense of alienation, yes. Zoom is very strange. Frozen screens. Nothing else? Sitting in awkward silence, staring at blank screens, hoping someone will say something. Yes. Yes, lack of energy. Yes, it's okay for bumps. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I've had to get really comfortable with long silences. People working while talking. Yeah. So there's good stuff when you're the host and you can mute people. Thank you so much for these. These are great. So it really seems like everyone is really concerned with engagement and getting everyone to kind of talk to one another in these weird times. The disclaimer before I get into like all of this is don't always rely on synchronous meetings, and I think this is good for engaging students at different levels, right? So if you need to record like we're doing now, and you post them online, either through Zoom Cloud or WarpWire or YouTube. I think posting them through WarpWire or YouTube allows you to kind of download the Zoom locally to your computer and edit it. But sometimes I realize, if you're like me, I'm losing space on my hard drive. It's hard to process video. So just allowing your students some other way to watch your lectures or discussions, and then allow for other ways of participation, forum or responses. I know Courtney has done in her classes using Slack as a way to communicate. So, just thinking about, we're going to talk about Zoom, but I don't want you to think about like Zoom as a technology that you have to consistently just lean on it. You want to just think about other ways of engaging. Okay. So the first point I want to make is setting up your space. And these are going to be my own personal pictures of my house. And so this is what I've done for the past like 4 or 5 months, is like consistently move things around and try to get this space to be as cohesive to working and teaching as I can. And the other thing I want you to think about as you're setting up your space and your classroom is to think about accessibility, making sure you have some sort of captioning. So Zoom Cloud automatically captions, which is great. YouTube automatically has captioning, or if you're typing notes out or having some sort of transcript, there's a bunch of different programs you can do to transcribe videos. You want to caption all images, just in case, internet access or whatnot, or you can provide people your slides and whatnot. I like to use noise canceling microphone instead of the microphone on your device. So I have a pair of headphones. Yep, Office 365 streamed as well if you need captions on an existing video. Thank you, Dan. Yes. Yeah. There's also Microsoft Azure that'll let you do it too. But a noise canceling microphone, I know we don't always have a lot of money around, but they can get pretty cheap now. And that allows you, if you're using like a microphone and your laptop or monitor to project sound, sometimes you can get echoes if you don't have noise canceling. Um, so that's one thing you want to think about. You want to limit background noise and visual distractions. You want a plain background. So I'm going to show you two different options to do that, because I don't know about you, but if there's something in the background, sometimes I just stare at that for long periods of time. Have good lighting for your camera. Ensure students can clearly see your lips. And think about color blindness, especially with contrast of things. Okay, so option one for Zoom setup is this is my in-class setup. And and my tie should have been straighter. I'm so sorry about that. But you know, what I try to do is make a very plain background. I have the two options behind me that I use. So I bought some poster board from Michael's, which like will cost you $1.20 for a couple pieces of it. And I just do it in green. And there's ways in which you can make your virtual background cleaner by using a green screen. Or if you're recording videos, you can make the green screen your slides and have you kind of talk in front of them. So green screen's one option. Another option was I just bought a bunch of those 3M poster boards, or you can just use white poster board and just have something to write on to facilitate discussion. I don't know about you, but I really miss the chalkboard and any kind of writing. So to really kind of have something to facilitate that. But you'll see for the most part, besides the little broadside on the door, it's pretty clean, right? There's not a lot of distractions, and so the students can really focus on you rather than something in your background. And this took, I mean, this is only what is that, 3.5 feet behind me. So you don't have to rearrange your whole house. It's just getting like a portion of it to look, clean and undistracting. The other option, which I absolutely love, and this happens sometimes, I will tape the green poster board behind me on my chair. There's other ways that you can kind of put it right behind you so you can add in background, but Zoom has gotten increasingly better with virtual backgrounds. So if you have like a discrete graphics card on a computer, you should be able to run virtual background without doing green screen or something like that. But this is another option. The other great option of using green screen is it's really super easy if you're making your own videos or you're recording in Zoom and posting them asynchronously to replace your background with something. So this is just a shot of iMovie where you record yourself in front of a green screen. And there's literally just an option that you go to green, blue screen. And so whatever that's underneath you will become the new background. And that's all you got to do, right? So there's some easy ways that you can kind of spice up your videos and make them look more professional or the background of your Zoom. But I think a really lo-fi way is just to kind of try to make the background as clean as possible. Okay, moving on. Office hours. So this is another option. I like to give my students different spaces when we're talking. So I still like to do some white poster board, but I face the camera the other side of the room, which you're facing right now. I like it for the following things. First, the window behind me is closed because sometimes that light will come in and cause some lens flaring. I try and dress up as much as I can. I think, you know, being professional will get the students in a mode of, you know, that they're actually in class. And this took me a while to get used to. I mean, if you're not comfortable with that, I still wear like gym shorts on below everything. So it's comfortable for me, because especially because it's been hot. But I think dressing up is kind of important. And then I try and sit behind my books, so I look like, you know, I know things. So like to think about, you know, what are different spaces in your home that you can provide your students in the background to kind of visually represent different modes of teaching, right? So this will be a, you know, teaching like this is kind of more about what is the content and what I'm saying. And then, you know, this is meant to be more comfortable. And you see there's a chair behind me. So if we're like really in conversation, I'll get out of my office chair and move to that chair and we'll just kind of talk. Okay. Any questions so far? Cool. All right, desk setup.
I just
Yeah.
really like your idea. Sorry. I just really like your idea of setting up your like actual office space. So I just wanted to thank you for that. Having a
Yeah.
little chair to mimic the idea of social conversation. I think it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it was the chair that like all of our cats decided to like scratch up and pee on. So no one did
But
anyway.
they don't have to smell that. So
They don't. And you know, you wouldn't know in my office. If you look in the very left corner, you will see the corner of our blind cat's litter box. So it's like, you know, you can have stuff in your rooms. It's just like, just get it just out of frame. Um, so yeah. And then, you know, I love plants, but I try and keep them out of the frame as well. Thanks, Liz.
yeah.
Thanks, Ani. Okay, desk setup. So, and again, like you don't have to do these sorts of things. I really like this, and there's ways that you can do this in various price ranges. The first is like I really like having two monitors, so I can look at content pretty easily without squinting my eyes. You can buy $100 TV and plug it into your computer, and that'll work. I also like having a microphone. You like you can go onto, I like Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, and people sell this stuff for like $100. For a really good microphone, you can get something okay for $20. And I like the standalone microphone, just so the students don't look at me wearing a pair of headphones and that doesn't get distracting. Like the less barriers that there are from you to the student, the better. And so some kind of microphone usually. And then, you know, or if you're going to go with the microphone on your computer, just try to put your sound on the monitor so you have two different areas of doing that. I also like these ring cam lights. They're like $5 on Amazon. They really light well, and they keep your face natural light if you don't have windows or whatnot to bring in light. I also meant to point out at this hard drive that's behind the monitor, backing stuff up, especially when you're doing video and content for your students. Now that we're moving all this stuff online, I can't recommend enough just buying a cheap, you know, $20 hard drive and just backing it up. Like hard drives can be cheap, just get one and back up. The other point is the camera on the computer. So I have a little slider, and I try to do that when you came into this meeting. I try and slide that thing over so I have my camera on so I don't have to mess with the Zoom settings. But you know, when class starts, I can just unslide it and then it's like, okay, class time. What was the ring cam like? Yeah, so that's one you can just buy on Amazon. I use it just especially if I teach in the later afternoon, if it gets kind of dark. I just put it in front of my face just to light it naturally, because again, like in one of my points, you want your students to read your lips pretty easily, and that helps with retaining information. So, you know, if you have not a ring light, but something just to jam on in the middle of your desk so you get lit a little better, that'd be the best. Cool. Okay. So the next thing I just want to talk about is Zoom settings. And if you're unfamiliar where to get Zoom settings from, because I hear that a lot from my peers and other faculty members, is in your Zoom window, you're going to click your, it's, whatever, it'll be GG or CR, whatever your initials are, unless you've put a picture on your name. And then you just go to settings, and you're going to see a small menu of different options, which you can do whatever you want. I have a couple things checked, but I don't think any of these are really necessary to the Zoom experience. But view more settings at the bottom is kind of where you want to go. So the first thing that I think will make your experience better was in the beginning of this presentation. If we go way back, I tried to have like a waiting screen, like it's going to begin. You can do this as an option, like, if you're doing PowerPoints and have this, or if you're not doing PowerPoints, you can just adjust what people see in the waiting room. So now that UNC turned on waiting room for all of us, you can go to customize waiting room, and you can give it a little picture and logo, and you can customize what it says. Like, the standard greeting is please wait, the meeting host will let you in soon. But you could say something like, welcome to Wednesday's class, etc. Okay. And you can add a description to the waiting room. So like there's a way that, if you're not using PowerPoint, you can kind of customize it so the students feel like, it's not just another Zoom meeting, but it's your class. And the only caveat is those images have to be pretty small. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so another best practice is I try to assign a student to be, I call them the discussion leader, and I make them the co-host. And what generally they'll do is they'll respond back to questions in the chat, help me, manage discussion with students, like talking over one another. And so it's really nice to have a partner when you're doing classes, especially if you're doing like a lit class that has like 30 or 35 people. And so you can add co-hosts if you click this option on when you're in the meeting, and you can just click on that person's name and add them as a co-host. And so like, I think that's a really easy way to manage some of the stuff, because for me, sometimes it's hard to monitor the chat and talk to people. So it's nice to have someone to help. The other thing I like to do is nonverbal feedback, because sometimes you just have people that aren't in the space to respond or the space to participate. And so I think using the nonverbal feedback, which is like yes, no, there's the thumbs up, there's other options that you can do for meeting reactions. So you want to give the students, you want to turn on these options because you're going to give the students more options to contribute to the class, right? I think sometimes they can have a lot of fun with the emojis in Zoom. So make sure you turn those on. So we talked a lot about, facilitating conversation. So another thing in your settings, if you haven't turned that on yet, is to do a breakout room. And you want to ensure that you click allow hosts to assign participants to breakout rooms when scheduling. Okay. So having breakout rooms, at least in my experience so far, has been one of the better ways to get conversation going. And you just want to be careful about size. I usually like 3 or 4 people, but at the end, I'll kind of ask what y'all have been doing and what's been working. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. Here comes the more technical stuff. And I like to use other cameras for Zoom because It allows me to kind of get closer to the blackboard that I kind of have set up, or it allows you to use your camera on your phone while you're on your computer on Zoom. So there's a number of different ways you can do this. Now, the first step, I don't think you need to do this anymore, but you might, is Zoom for a little bit, lock down any way of using an outside camera or streaming device to show a Zoom camera. It could only use your internal one. And so this article that I pulled out of Medium shows you how to fix this. This is specifically for Mac. The PC is not as big of a problem with locking different devices down. Now, I'm gonna say at the beginning, you can circumvent all of this stuff by just using a capture device. So typically people use them just for like video game console, like if I want to play my video game and be on the webcam at the same time. But actually you can use those same things to stream like a video camera or a DSLR camera or your little camera to your computer through a streaming card. And so that's one way you can do it. And streaming cards are much cheaper. You can get like a little USB one for 20 bucks. But this other way, this is a free software way of doing this. So anyway, you can test this out. I think Zoom in the last update, if you're completely updated, had fixed this issue. But the second one is a program called Camera Live. So that'll be the second step. So Camera Live's free. It's on GitHub. I put the link in the presentation here, but you download Camera Live and then you download another piece of software called Camera Twist. And you'll find that at Mac Update. I think they took down the Cam Twist website because people were having too much fun, I think. But those are the three things you want to do. You want to be at least completely updated with Zoom, or you can follow the steps in this Medium article. You download Camera Live. And I'll share again the link to the slides that I had at the beginning if you missed that, and you'll be able to get all of these URLs from it. And then downloading Camera Twist. So the first thing you do is you boot up Camera Live. And when you have devices plugged into your computer, like I had my iPhone 5 plugged in. I also had the Canon camera plugged in, and you can plug in those devices either through USB or HDMI if your camera has that. But if it's plugged into your computer will recognize those devices, okay? So whatever device you want to use, you'll just click on it and it'll go from ready to active, okay? So once you've selected, whatever device, other camera you want to use, you go to Camera Twist, which, sorry, this logo in my computer just wasn't sharp enough. And in Cam Twist, you go to Siphon and you press Select. And then on the far right, you're going to see Siphon Server, and you just select Camera Live. So essentially what's happening is Camera Live is allowing the phone or a camera or a camcorder to interact with your computer. And then what Cam Twist is doing is it is essentially setting up like a streaming server for that camera that Zoom can use, okay? So once you have all that in place, you just go back to Zoom. You go to your settings again in that top right corner. You go to video, and you'll see underneath where you normally would have your built-in webcam, you'll now see two options for Cam Twist. You can just ignore the 2V UI. It'll still work, but I would just use Cam Twist. And then that will allow you to stream whatever is from your phone, from a camera, from a camcorder, something else to give you other options to stream with. You know, if you can't get your computer set up right on your desk and you need to use something else, this is a way that you can do something else with different devices on Zoom. Okay. So I've tested this like with a ton of different stuff. We have like an old Canon ELPH camera from like, you know, mid 2000s that still works with this. We use a camcorder. So like anything they have in the house, you can use as a separate camera. And you can always go back to forth too. Like if you want to have like a discussion somewhere else in your house, as long as you keep that thing plugged into your computer, you're fine. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. The other couple of things I want to go over are just ways to augment your Zoom experience. So one was the poll anywhere that I did in the beginning, you know, to get questions and to have people upvote things. And you can do a number of different things on there. You can create word clouds, you can do surveys, etc. One thing that my students really like to do, and the discussion leader that I talked about, usually as a fun thing, will create a Kahoot game based on in-class material. And this is really easy because students can play Kahoot on their phone. You can play Kahoot on your computer. A lot of students like to do it on their phone, so they stay logged in Zoom and they just go to Kahoot on their phone, or you can just open up a web browser link. And all you do is go to kahoot.it and your student will create a game, and usually it's like a 5 or 6 digit pin. And it's a really fun way that you can do you know, some activities and make it a little more fun. And usually, you know, with some of the games afterwards, we'll discuss like whatever. The last one we did was about viral images, and so we showed memes and we were trying to determine which meme was the first version of it. And so we kind of discussed like whether or not that was the best version or why it went viral. So the games can be one way to make your experience better. Another way that I found was to watch videos and TVs or movies together. And the caveat here is there was dorks, really nerdy stuff, but there's certain web browsers that allow you to encode video over like a streaming service like Zoom, and you can't do it with Chrome and you can't do it with Safari, you can't do it with Explorer, but you can do it with Firefox. So say I have like a Amazon Prime account or Netflix account and I want to stream it over Zoom, as long as you're using Firefox as the browser to do that, it will, when you screen share, it'll show the video to your students. If I don't know if any of you have tried this on another web browser, but it normally will just show a blank screen or some kind of pattern instead of the video. So if you do want to kind of stream videos and kind of talk about them together, or movies or whatnot, like, you know, for some of the things we've streamed movies and we've made that an in-class activity where, you know, every 15 minutes we'll just pause and kind of discuss what we just saw. And so that's kind of another hot tip is like, you got to use Firefox if you want to stream movies or other media over Zoom. Okay. So I hope you like those hot tips. I am really interested in hearing some hot tips from you. So I'm going to go back to our poll everywhere. And our last question that I want to kind of ask is, what are some of your best practices with Zoom? Oh, good. Hannah's been able to stream video on Chrome. Cool. Yeah, I had a problem with, we were trying to view The Watchmen, the HBO series, and for some reason when I was on Chrome, it just wasn't showing up on Zoom. I wonder if Zoom fixed that. But so if you are having problems, Firefox is usually the solution to that. So if you want to go back to the poll EV, which in the chat, Courtney had that in the beginning here. I just want to hear, or if you're more comfortable with just unmuting yourself, I just want to hear, I've given you some of my best practices for Zoom, but I would love to hear if any of you out there have found anything to be helpful.
Sure. So this was great also. Thank you so much for this. And my best practice isn't nowhere near as technically advanced as some of these awesome ideas. But just for things that are recorded, I just make sure to go back to the link because I save everything to the iCloud link for Zoom. And I go back and I edit the transcript because I know that oftentimes if I speak too fast or even if the text just can't fully understand what I'm saying, like if I'm saying engagement and then the text might be like and then the word gauge, like to gauge an audience. So I was like, that's not what I want. I'll go back and edit the transcript. So just checking in for that has been, I think, important for me, especially with keeping up with like making sure captions make sense, things like that.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, that's a great tip. And I guess that's the advantage is on YouTube, you really can't adjust those.
Yeah. And that's about for recording the Zoom session at large. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Great share. Anyone else? Okay. Segmenting lecture and group work in a predictable pattern. Students tend to appreciate the routine of the class and Yep. Yeah. Yeah, like having a very similar structure. And also, if you're doing asynchronous, really trying to limit the content that you provide in like 10-minute little videos. Like you can break them up in different forms, but like I think a little pop. But yeah, if this is like lecture time, right? We always try and do the Kahoot game at the end. So yeah, I think predictable is good. Yeah, using the chat box for discussion. And I think sometimes challenging people to use emojis too, to communicate, I think is also pretty interesting. Anything else? Ooh, yeah. Creating class playlists to fill the quiet time of individual writing. That is a great tip. I don't know about you, but I usually put it on Spotify. But I think like Ani, you have to kind of go back and edit things. I think I had one semester that almost all the playlist was like K-pop, which is great, but like I don't think that should all that you need to listen to while you're trying to write or do something. But that's a great tip. And then yeah, if you're on Spotify, you can just share or you can make it shareable.
Hey Grant, that was me that did the class playlist. Do you have any tips for the sharing of the audio sound to make that I feel like oftentimes what I have to do is stop sharing and then reshare with the sound. Is there like a workaround for that? Because the sound setting is not a default one, unless.
Oh, are you using the desktop app version?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Is that a recommendation of yours, the desktop app, or do you use the?
Yeah, I use the desktop app. I don't find that because I feel like it just defaults to my system settings. Where the web browser, it seems to vary.
Yeah.
I think it depends on your computer. I think maybe on a PC, if you did it in, Microsoft Edge, maybe it would remember the settings.
Yeah.
Yeah, assigning students on a rotating basis. Yeah, to monitor the chat and answer questions if able to do so. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think having a student help you lead the class, I think is rewarding for them, and it gets the students into it a little more. Cool. Well, thank you for sharing those. I'm just going to leave you with, if you haven't seen this movie yet, I think it's called like Definitely My Maybe or something like that. It was a Netflix movie. It was great. But if if you didn't feel comfortable talking up now or have any questions about installing the stuff or getting it going or any other insights, you can just email me, granchi@live.unc.edu, and I'd be happy to help you with technology-oriented stuff or anything else. But I hope this was helpful. I feel like we all kind of just like got thrown into Zoom land, and I think it's good just to talk about, like what works for some of us and what might work for you. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Grant. I want to put a plug in for the DLC too. If you have other ideas that you want, like I would really like to know how to do X, Y, or Z about a workshop. DLC is always happy to host and also create like a platform or a place for you to share your amazing pedagogy. So just always feel free to email me or the DLC _lab@unc.edu.
Well, thank you so much for your attention. And yeah, look forward. We will have more workshops in the near future at the DLC. So